Hello and welcome. I'm Lee from Homeschool Heritage Hub, and you're tuning into our American History audiobook series. Today we're exploring American History Stories by Mara L. Pratt, Volume 1, from a collection of public domain books. We're thrilled you found this valuable resource. These classic texts offer a unique window into how American history has been understood and taught over time. As we journey through these pages together, we'll encounter perspectives that have shaped our nation's historical narrative. We at Homeschool Heritage Hub are offering you this audiobook absolutely free because we think everyone should have access to Mara L. Pratt's American History Stories Volume 1. However, we do offer paperback, Kindle, and audiobook versions through KDP. We've kept the original manuscript and illustrations and added, with the power of AI, chapter summaries, narration, comprehensive chapter questions, and new illustrations. The link is in the description below. Now, let's turn back the pages of time and dive into the rich tapestry of American history.
Chapter 4. The Voyage. With Isabella's aid and a little money which Columbus himself had, 3 ships were fitted out. These were not tall, stout ships such as you see lying at our wharves with their broad sails, huge wooden sides, and wide decks. They were small, frail craft, not so large as those you may see today sailing up and down rivers and small lakes. On Friday, August 3rd, 1492, 3 small vessels, the Santa Maria, the Pinta, and the Nina, with 20 men on board, set sail from Spain. They sailed for weeks across the unknown waters, keeping all the time to the west until at last the sailors began to be frightened at the thought of their distance from home. They threatened to throw Columbus overboard if he did not turn back, and at length Columbus promised them that if they did not see land in 3 days, he would return to Spain. You can imagine how anxious Columbus must have been during those 3 days. He felt that land was near, although he could not prove it to the sailors. To turn back now would have been a terrible disappointment. But fortunately for Columbus, signs of land began to appear. Birds came and rested on the masts of their ships. A large branch of a tree floated by, and even the dullest sailor could not fail to believe these signs. At last, one morning at daybreak, the cry of "Land! Land!" was heard from the foremost ship, and in a few hours more they reached the shores of a small island, which they called San Salvador. When Columbus set foot upon the dry land, he at once set up the Spanish flag and took possession in the name of Spain. A few days later they set sail for a larger island in the distance, and safely anchored in one of its harbors. They named this island Hispaniola, but it is now called Haiti. A beautiful island it proved to be, for the climate was soft and mild. There was an abundance of rich fruit, and there were many strange trees and flowers. When the natives saw the white sails of the vessels, they rushed down to the shores, yelling with astonishment, for they never had seen a ship before, and of course were terribly frightened. Some thought they were great birds with white wings. Some thought the Great Spirit had come. They were glad to see Columbus and his men, and they said to them in their strange language, "Welcome, white men." And from that time they were very kind to Columbus and his men, and helped them not a little in exploring the island and in hunting for food. Columbus at first treated them kindly, and it would have been well had all white men continued to do so. Columbus, however, soon returned to Spain and told of his great discovery and of the wonderful copper-colored people, some of whom he had brought back with him, with their straight black hair and head-dresses of feathers and faces streaked with paint. All Spain was filled with wonder, and it was not long before shiploads of men were sent over to the new country, so that very soon the island was settled by Spanish people. I wish that I could tell you that Spain was so proud of Columbus and so grateful to him for his gift that he was ever after treated with great honor, that he never again wanted for anything which money and favor could buy, and that he died peacefully at last, loved and honored by all. This is certainly what you might expect to hear of so brave a man. But there were jealous, envious men in Spain who plotted against Columbus, and when a few years later he went again to the islands he had discovered, he was seized by one of these Spaniards who had been sent out to govern the colony which had settled there, was put into chains and sent back a prisoner to Spain. When they heard of this cruel treatment, the people of Spain were indignant and insisted that he be restored to his rights. The Queen is said to have been moved to tears by his story. Columbus made 2 more voyages of discovery, but sickness and disappointment had undermined his health, and he died shortly after at Valladolid on the 20th of May, 1506.
And there you have it, history enthusiasts. We've reached the end of today's journey through America's past. I hope you enjoyed this chapter of American History Stories by Mara L. Pratt, Volume 1. As we've explored these public domain texts, you may have noticed language or viewpoints that differ from our modern perspective. These differences offer valuable insights into how our understanding of history has evolved over time. I encourage you to continue your exploration. Supplement what you've heard today with additional resources, whether through online searches, educational videos, or visits to your local library. History is a dialogue between the past and the present, and your engagement enriches that conversation. This is Lee from Homeschool Heritage Hub. Thank you for joining me on this historical adventure. If you're interested in more American history audiobooks, make sure to find us on our YouTube channel, Homeschool Heritage Hub. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and let's work together to understand our past and shape our future.